Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen left me a 5% tip, ends up regretting it. After that, well, this is Red Lobster, and we do things the Red Lobster way. And after that, my housemate keeps throwing out my food. She says it's gross. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to leave a decent-sized tip. Decent-sized tip. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen left me a 5% tip, ends up regretting it. I've been a server for 2 to 3 years now. I'm usually pretty good at keeping my temper in line. I've had a rough summer between the off-season and health issues, so I virtually made no money from mid-June, mid-September, which doesn't help pay my bills. We all typically have a good feeling about certain tables and if they're going to tip or not. I started serving a 3-top, and I just had the vibes that they were comment tippers. They ordered multiple expensive drinks, ordered food, complained about, and I fixed and got them entirely new meals, and made jokes with them and followed exactly what they wanted. They had 2 friends join them towards the end of their meal, and I was really hoping another one would show up, because I would be able to add an automatic gratuity if there were a party of 6. The night goes on, and they've been with me for a total of 3 hours. I went to my boss and asked him if we could add the auto gratuity because their bill was $350 and climbing. And I just had this horrible sinking feeling that they were going to stiff me. He said we couldn't, and even my other coworkers were like, hey, they're going to do her over. Time comes for the bill, and they split it. One girl handed me a $20 bill, and the others signed their slips. Our policy is to grab the checks while they're on the table after being signed to say a pleasant goodnight spiel. I do so and see how they all didn't leave me a single tip. I got a 5% tip for 3 hours of work and lost out on $100 between them not tipping and having to still tip out. I was absolutely fuming. So I went and took the $20 back and put it back on their table and said, have a good night, and walked back inside. A few minutes later, I get all 5 of them running in, yelling at me about how disrespectful and rude I am. I blankly looked at them and told them, I'm sorry you perceived it that way, but I find it disrespectful and disgusting to tip a server 5% when they just busted their tail for you for 3 hours. They tried to yell at me and say, why didn't I come and ask for more tip then? Why be shady? I said that I shouldn't have to come and ask why I wasn't given a proper tip. And when you yourself told me how amazing of a server I was for you, and that maybe next time, don't let your man order 6 $25 drinks. If you can't afford to tip, don't go out to eat. My manager was there for the whole thing and kinda let me say my piece at last. Their only complaint to him was me slamming the money down on the table. They even confirmed I was a good server and yet still left me nothing. But it felt so good to tell them off, because this is not okay to do to servers. Edit to add. If all you're going to say is, your boss owes you a living wage, seriously, stop. I'm legit doing the absolute best I can at a place that typically makes me good money. I can't fix the US system, so stop blaming my owner when he's legit trying to pay us more hourly currently. Well, this is Red Lobster, and we do things the Red Lobster way. This happened several years ago, and I am forever relieved I don't work in a restaurant anymore. Solidarity to all kitchen workers for the endless BS you have to deal with. At the time, I was working in the kitchen as an assembler. This can be one of the most clutch positions on the line, as you take all the food being prepared by the other cooks and organize it into tickets that can be taken out into the dining room. Accordingly, it is often a bottleneck for food leaving the kitchen. If you have a slow assembler, cooked food goes bad under the heating lamps. Grilled salmon dries out, fries become soggy, linguine Alfredo hardens into concrete. Really horrific stuff. It is imperative that food not sit in the window. I was working a weekday lunch shift, which is normally pretty slow. We must have provoked the wrath of restaurant gods on this day though, because out of nowhere, the store got hit with a tsunami of customers. I could just barely make out the other cooks through the clouds of shrimp scampi, fryer grease, and cheddar bay biscuits flying through the air. I knew the crap blizzard was headed my direction and began putting empty plates up in the window with the shape of each ticket that was to leave the kitchen, a technique I had learned to help survive times like this. On the other side of the window Coordinating the servers was my manager, Jerkface. Shouldn't use his real name. Actually, let's call him Bob instead. Bob was a bit hyperactive and had an irritating tendency to micromanage kitchen processes, a problem compounded by his not knowing how to run a kitchen. When I began putting empty plates in the window so that the incoming interstellar-sized wave of seafood had something to land on, he stopped me.
"What are you doing?"
Bob asked. "I'm putting the plates and their sides in the window because we're about to have a very high volume of food coming through," I replied.
"Well, this is Red Lobster, and here we do things the Red Lobster way. We plate the food when the food is ready, and we don't put the sides on early."
I tried explaining that the Red Lobster way was designed by sentient suits and ties, physically incapable of holding a spatula, that our sacred way, as dictated in the good book of employee training, had gone out in the trenches of last year's endless shrimp special, that while I appreciated the job, I wasn't prepared to go out at the hands of this rush to uphold its most obscure tenets. But he wasn't having any of it. Bob insisted that I take the plates out of the window and only pass him plates and tickets that were 100% completed. Knowing full well that Bob was flying us by the book into a storm of crap, I put on a raincoat, rubbed some Vicks under my nose, and braced for the impact. 30 minutes later, the window was chaos. Finished food was left in the wings of the window, while I plated up one finished ticket at a time. Bob was equal parts confused and furious, like a toddler whose toy was suddenly taken away.
"What's this food waiting on?"
he cried, gesturing towards a shriveled up steak and its associated sides. "Well, that order is waiting on some fried shrimp, and I need to wait for the ticket to be complete before I plate it up."
"Why is the ticket missing fried shrimp?"
"Unfortunately, I'm not manning the fryer, sir, so I don't know." This continued for the better part of an hour. It seemed like every ticket was missing one little thing that kept it from leaving the kitchen. After the rush had passed, Bob approached me with the twitchy, nervous energy of a hyper-caffeinated, insecure manager who needed to assert his dominance over the underpaid crew of some bunk seafood restaurant.
"Can I, speak to you in the walk-in for a moment, username's Rue?"
"Sure thing." We walked to the cooler as I struggled to remember how to fight off an attacker.
"So, what happened back there?"
Bob asked, arms folded, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "You said we should follow the system, and we did," I replied, mentally noting that he was standing in front of the walk-in's only exit.
"But there were a lot of missed items on those tickets. We had food dying in the window."
"I saw it. Yeah, it was pretty bad."
"So, why was the food missing?"
"I don't know. I wasn't cooking the food. I was assembling it. I'm the assembler." This line of questioning continued, with Bob trying to somehow pin this mess on me, while I insisted that I did exactly what was asked of me. After not being able to move past this point for several minutes, Bob made some sweeping statement about
"doing better next time,"
and then left. Incidentally, the next time I was assembling and Bob was on the other side of the window, nothing was said about the Red Lobster way, and the rush went smoother, albeit with some hotter plates and servers having to return for delayed items. I guess we ended up doing better after all. My housemaid keeps throwing out my food. She says it's gross. I'm losing my mind here. I need perspective. 6 months ago, I moved in with a friend and her friend. My friend is chill. Her friend is nice, but is super clean freak. My friend warned me about that, so I've been on my game keeping everything extra clean. Though we had some small differences of opinion. Example, I left 2 textbooks on the kitchen table overnight after studying, and the next morning she told me I shouldn't leave mess on the table. Okay, I didn't think a couple of books was a mess, but cool, no worries, won't do it again. The problem is the fridge. One of Jane's weekly, self-appointed chores is to clean out the fridge. I don't think a fridge needs to be cleaned weekly, but hey, her call. Thing is, she keeps throwing out my food. We have different ideas about how long food is still good. She's adamant leftovers shouldn't be eaten after 3 days. I eat leftovers for up to a week. I'm pretty generous to my vegetables with how long I still eat them. Like, if my carrots get a little soft or my kale's a bit wilted, they're not perfect, but they're still good for a stew. Let me stress, they are not going bad or gross or smelly or moldy or any of the terrible things you can imagine in a shared fridge. I've never left actual bad food in there. They're just not supermarket shiny. My food budget is tight. I'm not gonna waste food. We just had a blow up because I went to eat the stir fry I cooked Monday night. Gone. Jane's thrown out my leftovers before because she claims it's gone bad after a few days, or thrown out unpretty vegetables that I know were fine because I looked at them that very day, but she had claimed that they were gross. I've asked her before not to throw out my food just because she personally wouldn't eat it, because it's fine. I asked her about the stir fry. She said she threw it out because it's been there for weeks. Jane, it hasn't been there for weeks. I cooked it on Monday night. It has. It's been there for weeks. It's disgusting. I got rid of it. Jane, I literally cooked it on Monday. I know I did because I was there. Please stop throwing out my food. It's fine. You don't have to eat it, but you can't just toss my stuff. She went off about how it's disgusting, the food I keep in there, and it's going to make me sick. It doesn't. And how she's doing me a favor and I should be thanking her for cleaning the fridge weekly because it's disgusting that we wouldn't do it if she wasn't here. I can't even deal with this, so I just calmly said, Jane, the fridge isn't disgusting. Please leave my food alone, and walked upstairs because I just couldn't handle getting into a screaming match about it. She went to my friend, going off about how rude I was to walk out on a discussion and how my food is gross. I know I might be looser than the others on when food is still good, but I don't think I'm doing anything gross. My food is not gone rotten, smelly, or moldy. Am I being gross to have leftovers in the fridge for a week? Or vegetables that are a bit soft? ETA. Thanks, and lots of people have suggested a mini fridge in my room, which I get is one solution. I just don't think I should have to. Carting my food up and downstairs from the kitchen to cook a meal if my roommate is being unreasonable seems uncool and expensive for me to get one. We do have separate shelves in the fridge, so she knows my leftovers are mine. To be honest, I think she targets them because she assumes they're gross. They are sealed, but we all put a special portion of our vegetables in the bottom chiller drawer together, but she knows which ones are hers and which are mine. I guess I was just paranoid because I grew up in not the cleanest house, and we did really stretch our food and sometimes did have stuff so gross in the fridge as a kid, so even though I don't let food go gross now, I was worried I'm crossing some kind of unspoken boundary about acceptable food to keep in the fridge because my house and fridge were messy growing up. ETA 2. My God, people. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being inadvertently gross with my old veggies and my 5 days leftovers. Not go nuclear. Y'all are savage. Remind me not to mess with your food. ETA 3. Okay, thank you all. Label your food seems to be the winner and also the most sensible, easiest, and non-conflict inducing advice. Although I am finding my petty streak, so maybe all the labels will just say, it's fine, Jane, leave it alone. Make parts non-stop, but never get them shipped? Okay, boss. I still have nightmares from working in this company, so I thought I would share one of my stories. Background. I worked at a factory that I absolutely loved. Loved the boss, my manager, now called head AH, really knew his work and would teach anyone that showed enthusiasm. But then the company merged, and we suddenly had in my section 3 managers trying to prove their worth, who all turned into massive jerks. The place quickly turned into every man for himself. For example, the 10 minutes I spent patching up a coworker before he went to the hospital came at the cost of being screamed at, then forced to stay back to make up for my timesheets being out. Can tell more tales of this another time. And while my section needed 5 people to run, the way they managed it, people walked out, and it came down to me alone. I would have 3 different managers come to yell at me, but not help or hire people to do the work. Seriously, they would come in, scream, and run out. I was desperate to quit, but living paycheck to paycheck, things were really hard. My role was to run a CNC router, but had to run 2 of them as I'm now alone, complete the parts, and get it ready to send to the customer. Often, from start to ship, my parts are only handled by me. This is not normal. Normally, you would have someone to help complete the parts. As I am alone, I have to keep up with the machine. It makes sense to have the machine off at times during the day while I get things completed. You could expect a screaming if the place was messy at the end of the day. Ballistic screaming. Now for the story. Keep in mind this is 15 plus years ago, so it might not be 100% accurate. I had machined a stack of parts, and there was no way I could in my right mind make more parts until I had done the post-processing and had these parts ready to be shipped. There were things that had to be sent that day. Head manager.
Why aren't the machines running?
Me. I'm really behind on this and
Why aren't the machines running?
me. This is really urgent. Let me get this part sent and I can run the machines after I finish this. Now, absolutely screaming and throwing things.
Get the machines running, Anon.
He starts berating me and saying that the post-processing wasn't important and running the machines was the most important, and that I had to keep the machines running no matter what, and that post-processing can be done by anyone in the factory, but I'm the only one who can run the machines, so I have to run them and keep them running no matter what. Cue malicious compliance. For the entire week, I did exactly what he asked. I ran both machines. I would load the programs for the next job while the machine was still running its existing job. Tool holders were lined up and ready to go. While the machines are running, I would sprint from the machines to the material racks to get materials I needed for the next job ready. I ran those machines non-stop. I did zero post-processing as I did not have a spare minute. Nothing was finished to stage where it could be shipped. There wasn't even time for breaks. I made sure those machines ran without a minute of downtime. By the end of the week, I had machined so many parts that I had filled up 3 massive workbenches. These benches were something like 3 meters by 1.5 meters long, and I just kept stacking the piles as high as I could. The best thing is that the urgent work is now on the bottom of this pile, and the work due next week was on top. This is literally hundreds of different customers' orders. I don't remember the hours I pulled at this exact time, but I have done shifts such as 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 80-hour weeks without overtime pay were usual for me. When crap finally hit the fan about a week of not being sent out, Head Jerk comes to talk to me, and you could see something snap in his head while he was trying to talk.
Hey, Anon.
Me. Sorry, not now. I have to run the machine. I just ignored him, and I kept setting up the next job.
Stop. Just stop.
He starts by trying to ask me where this job is, and I'm just gesturing. It's under there, man. The look on his face was priceless. He starts berating me on how there is no point turning the machines on at all unless the work is completed all the way and sent. He really got stuck into me, but then he's like,
just leave the machine off for now and start completing these jobs.
But then we both start on completely different parts, and within a minute he sees me and instantly,
get the machines running, Anon.
And I think it's here where he realized that it's all his fault. And as I'm walking back to the machine, I swear he looks up at his roof, screams,
no!
And it's as if his soul has left his body. And I'm laughing hard remembering this. He yells at me,
leave it off.
And as I start finishing parts again, he looks at me and he's about to say the line again, but instead looks up at the roof and screams again. It was like every time he saw me, he wanted to say it. He lasted maybe 10 minutes before he couldn't take it anymore. He storms off and sends someone over to help. But all the urgent work was buried deep. We had to complete non-urgent work first to get it out of the way so that we could find it. And guess who suddenly left work on time every day and stopped working weekends? In short, with people helping me, it took over 2 weeks to catch up and clear the backlog. Those urgent parts were at least 2 weeks late. It took a lot longer for the schedule to return to normal. Let you handle it? Okay, I'll just be over here. Background. I am the video conference / audio visual specialist for a state agency. This means that I assist with any meetings that use MS Teams, WebEx, Zoom, and anything in between, along with troubleshooting any issues with video conference equipment, TVs, Crestron racks, etc. However, if any equipment needs repair or replacement, we have a contract with a third party to come out and investigate. I am also a mid-30s man, though I could probably pass for 20s, hence the kid remark later. And while I'm not going to win any strongman competitions, I'm 5'11", pretty stocky, and work out regularly. Incident. This happened last week. There's a TV mounted in the director's conference room that has been acting up for the past few weeks. Every time I think I fixed it, it'll bug out again. Either the TV won't power on, or it will power on, but only show a black screen. TV won't respond to any inputs, etc. It may work for a day without issue, and then the next, everything I try won't get it working. Basically, the TV is foobar. I call up the contractor and explain the situation, and he then proceeds to talk down to me like I don't know how to do my job. which already rubbed me the wrong way. Contractor.
Have you tried this?
Me. Yes. Contractor.
This?
Me. Yes.
This?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good news. TV should still be under warranty with us anyway, so we can probably come out and replace the TV.
Me. Okay, great. Well, give me a time so I can be available to help y'all out.
We can handle it. We'll be out sometime tomorrow.
Okay, great. Click. Now, what I had neglected to tell them was that this TV is an 84-inch Panasonic LCD display. It is a beast and very heavy, 238 pounds. Next day comes, and in walks a 5'5" man in at least his early 60s with very little muscle on him and a tall, lanky dude that I'm not saying was an addict, but I am saying he was missing a lot of teeth, face was pretty scarred, and didn't look particularly fit. No way these guys are getting this TV off its mount. Shorty does the talking here. Shorty.
You call about the TV?
Me. Yeah. Look, this TV is pretty heavy, so you just let me know where you need me to help you get it down.
No need. We got this.
Me. Trust me, guys. This TV is a monster. Shorty then claps me on the shoulder.
Look, kid. I've been doing this a lot longer than you, okay? Just leave it to the professionals.
Cue malicious compliance. Me. Okay, right this way. I lead them to the director's conference room, and they are all smiles until they see this TV, and their faces drop. They just sort of stand there in the doorway in a brief stunned silence. Me. Well, I'll be at my desk if you need anything. I walk off, and the way my desk is positioned, if I lean just enough, I can see into the conference room. I watch for a while as these two pace around the TV a bit, scratching their heads trying to figure out how to get this TV down. Finally, I see them try and give it the old heave-ho with Shorty standing on his tiptoes trying to lift this TV off its mount. His face turns beet red and his arms are shaking pretty hard. They give a few more tries until finally deciding they can't get it. I see Shorty heading my way as I lean forward back to my desk. Shorty.
Hey man, would you mind giving us a hand?
Me. Actually, some important emails just came in. I point to a screen he can't see that has Reddit pulled up. Shorty.
It'll only take a minute.
Me. I don't know. I'd really like to leave it to the professionals. Shorty.
Please?
Me. You know what? Sure. These emails can wait. I close Reddit. We walk back to the conference room. I take one side, they both take the other, and all three of us heave this TV off and onto a dolly. They take it off and bring in a much lighter flat screen as a temporary replacement. They set it up and pack up to leave. Me. Thanks, guys. I clap Shorty on the shoulder. And hey, I'm here if you need anything next time. Shorty.
Yeah, thanks.
Grumble, grumble, out the door. New TV works great, by the way. Flip-flop Karen. Yesterday, Sunday, I went to visit my son, daughter-in-law, and grandson to deliver some food my wife made. Lasagna, baby. When my wife makes lasagna, everybody gets some. Daughter-in-law is in bed as she had hurt her back on Friday and it was still giving her issues. Been there, done that. It sucks. I'm playing with my grandson and my son mentions he's going to take him to the grocery store to pick up a few things so daughter-in-law doesn't have to worry about going. Grandson is cutting molars and not in a very good mood. I offer to go with him to the store to expedite the process as it's on my way home. We take separate cars and meet up, start shopping, and are knocking it out, me grabbing things and my son entertaining little Mr. Cranky Pants. We stopped in the pet food and supplies aisle as he needed kitty litter. I grab it and leave heading over to the dairy aisle. One more thing to get and we are out of there. This pet food aisle is set up as dog foods and supplies on one side, a cooler with fresh pet food, bird food, hamster food, etc., then cat food and supplies on the opposite end. While leaving the aisle, I did hear someone yelling, "Hey!" but paid it no mind. While walking to the dairy aisle, I heard a faint slap, 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 slap. That is the unmistakable sound of flip-flops. We live in Florida, and flip-flops are a way of life. Heck, when it gets cold, there are some who wear them with socks. Walking in the dairy aisle, still hearing the slap, 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 slap. Grab the butter, and as we are turning the corner to head to the registers, slap, 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 slap. "Hey, stop running from me. I've been chasing you for 10 minutes. I need help. Where is? Insert some random dog food. She was visibly out of breath. We both turn around, and right away she starts in about chasing us down, blah blah blah. But you could tell she was confused, as we are not dressed anywhere close to what employees wear, as they wear green uniforms. She kept staring at our shirts, me with a Steppenwolf t-shirt, complete with a large wolf head, and my son with a Donkey Kong t-shirt. Not ready to admit defeat yet, she tried to say something else, and at this moment, my grandson sticks his arms straight out and starts waving his hands around, saying, "No!" Yup, we both lost it and started laughing so hard we were in tears. Just said, "Don't work here," turned around and continued to the registers without incident. She stood there, mouth gaping. She ran down to the other end of the pet aisle, past 3 other aisles, then ran down the entire length of the dairy aisle in her flip-flops to chase down 2 men and a baby to ask about some random dog food. Slap, 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 slap. No, I can't leave the gas station I'm working at during the middle of my shift to order McDonald's for you. This was quite a while ago, over a year at least. I don't remember exactly how long, but I still think about it from time to time, wondering what planet this lady must have come from to think a request such as hers was even remotely reasonable. I work at a gas station in a small town. Although the town is very small, a major highway cuts through it, and the gas station where I work is often fairly busy. We're actually busy enough to justify having 2 workers, but the owners disagree and figure the gas station itself is small enough that 1 worker should be able to handle things fine on their own. Yes, I have some stories that prove the owners have clearly never had to work under the conditions they expect us to, but those are for another day. My point is that the cashier on duty for that shift is the only person working there at that time, unless they're training someone, and trainees are given exactly 2 days of training before getting thrown in the deep end because, God forbid, the owners have to pay 2 people to work at the same time. Never mind it gets busy enough to have lines snake around the whole building quite often. I should also mention our number is similar to a few other places, including some that are actually in the next town over. So when we answer the phone, we answer with, "Hello, you've reached name of town, name of gas station." The idea being, upon hearing this, any misdials will realize immediately they have the wrong number and prevent conversations like the following. Obviously, it didn't work in this case. It's a typical day at work, and I had just finished helping a customer. It was a rare, blissfully slow day, so far. So there was only 1 other customer in the store at the time who was busy browsing the drink section we had when the store phone rang. Normally, our policy is customers in store get priority over phone calls, but as the only customer in the store wasn't actually ready to check out yet, I went ahead and answered it. This is the conversation that ensued. Me: "Hello, you've reached our gas station. How may I help you?" Karen: "Yeah, I want to call ahead my order so y'all have it ready when I get there. I want a McDouble and a large fry with..." Me cuts the lady off. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this is the gas station, not McDonald's." "This isn't McDonald's?" "No, ma'am, it's the gas station." Karen: "Are you sure?" Me glances at the gas pumps outside, thinking, what the heck? "Yes, ma'am, I'm sure." "Well, I called because I want my order ready when I get there." Me: Well, then you'll need to call McDonald's." Karen: "Can't you just run over there and hand your phone to them? Or just order for me and I can talk you through it?" At this point, I should mention the store phone is obviously a landline phone. I mean, yeah, it's cordless, but it has a limited range on how far you can take it from the base before it stops working. So not only is this request ridiculous, but it's also literally impossible. Me: "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't do that." Karen: "What do you mean you can't do that? Why not? This is terrible customer service." Unintelligible yelling and ranting. So yeah, she literally started yelling at me because of her mistake and the fact she was apparently too lazy, entitled, to hang up and dial the correct number, instead expecting me to leave my actual job in the middle of my shift, leaving the store unsupervised to help her pre-order her McDonald's so she wouldn't have to wait. Who, from her attitude with me, I can only guess she would have immediately complained that it was cold. By now, the in-store customer is ready at the counter, and as the person on the phone is actually not even wanting us, it was time to cut this off, and while admittedly probably wasn't the right way to handle things, I needed her off the phone so I could help my actual customer. I completely dropped my polite retail persona and decided to be absolutely blunt. "Look, lady, I cannot leave my workplace while I'm working. I have my own customers to help. The phone we're speaking on is a landline, as are most businesses' phones, and even if I wanted to help you, it doesn't have the range to go that far. As for customer service, you are not my customer. You are McDonald's customer, and it's actually not my job to help you order your McDonald's. Have a great day. The last part said in an overly sweet, sarcastic tone that I generally reserve for Karens. I hung up without even giving her a chance to respond, then helped my actual customer. She never called back, and I never got in any trouble. So she either didn't complain or complained to the wrong place. And I honestly have no idea if she ever did get her McDonald's. Speaking of McDonald's, what's your favorite thing from McDonald's? Please let us know. Travis Scott me for the win, bruh. Straight up. Click this button to join as a channel member and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.